Coming up on the Aquatic Archive, we travel around the Sunshine State to bring you closer to the issues impacting our waterways
and the people working to protect them. First, we head to the man-made Orlando Wetlands to learn how it's benefiting our water quality throughout the state.
Next, we'll journey on over to Florida's Space Coast to see how one UCF sea turtle researcher is uncovering new data.
While still on the coast, we'll meet with Brevard Zoo's conservation team as they work to restore the Indian River Lagoon.
The Aquatic Archive starts now.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Aquatic Archive, a special edition of UCF Nightly News. I'm Amy Diaz.
And I'm Leeann Figueroa.
About 71% of our planet is covered in water. It makes up anything from rivers and lakes to the human body.
Water is constantly moving and flowing forward.
And Florida is known for its water. Ask anybody, they'll mention beaches and springs and even wetlands.
Located in Christmas, Florida, the man-made Orlando Wetlands are a quick 35-minute drive from campus.
Reporter Heather Basley tells us what this wetland is designed to provide and how it benefits us and the environment.
One of the largest constructed wetlands dates back to the 1980s when the city of Orlando was looking for a way to use wetlands to filter their wastewater. Courtney McCoy, an Orlando Wetlands public awareness specialist, said the wetlands was designed to take in wastewater from Central Florida.
So in 1982, the Iron Bridge Water Reclamation Facility opened, and that was designed to take in wastewater from the Central Florida area. So we've got City of Orlando, Maitland, Castleberry, and the like. And they opened in 1982 and quickly started to reach their capacity of how much wastewater that they could take in from your home.
The land fulfills its purpose of utilizing naturally occurring processes to reduce the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus in water. This process slowly and gently treats the wastewater before it is released into the St. Johns River floodplain.
Wetlands, otherwise known as nature's kidneys, help purify water that passes through them. For these reasons, it makes it extremely important for Florida's water supply.
With nearly 20 miles of nature trails and a vast variety of species, this facility treats over 18 million gallons of water a day. Chance Wright, a frequent park goer, said the city of Orlando is giving water back to the community.
I feel like the reclaimed water is really helpful for a lot of us. Considering how much water we waste in our day-to-day lives, I feel like it's really helpful to have a way to sort of get that water back into the community.
This unique Orange County wetland cleans and filters reclaimed water to meet the cleanliness standards of drinking water with this natural 30-day process. In Orlando, Heather Basley, The Aquatic Archive.
The wetlands are a part of a greater water purification process that prevents excessive harm to the environment. This benefits over 400,000 citizens across Orlando. In the case of a hurricane, this man-made wetland benefits the entire state of Florida by being a source for holding stormwater.
The UCF Marine Turtle Research Group spends every morning during the sea turtle nesting months monitoring nests in Melbourne, Florida. Yet, one researcher has been working to uncover new data about sea turtles who lay their nests later in the season. Reporter Avery Joens takes us to Brevard County to learn more about these discoveries.
My name's Maropi. I'm a third-year master's student here in the biology department with the UCF Marine Turtle Research Group. I help run our nesting program here on the Archie-Carr National Wildlife Refuge. So I run sea turtle nesting surveys between March 1st and October 31st. We are situated on the densest sea turtle nesting beach in the country, so we're really lucky. The official sea turtle nesting season here in Florida runs from March 1st to October 31st. So in 2020, we had a nest laid on December 6th, which was the latest nest ever documented in the state of Florida, and that kind of sparked what my thesis research is on. And so I'm studying the incubation and success of late season nests. So any nest laid after September is considered late.
My name is Erin Sini. I am an associate research scientist in the biology department and the UCF Marine Turtle Research Group. Right now we're in a position where there will be construction on most of the beaches that we monitor. The state and the federal government have guidelines for when these construction projects occur and how they can do them based on the turtles' sort of nesting timeline. We know pretty well how incubation runs during the warmer months of the year because that's when everybody studies turtles. These later season nests used to be fairly infrequent even for us, but since we have a third of the green turtle nests in the state, we see more late season nests than anyone else.
So this is kind of like the shoulder season. They're experiencing different environmental conditions than our summer nests, and so they don't typically behave the same way. And so we've started this late season project to better understand how long are these nests going to incubate for and how successful will they be when they're exposed to different climate conditions. So this is the third year of my project. From the first 2 seasons of data collection, we've seen that incubation does take longer for the late season nests. What we found from the first 2 seasons is that we're not observing the emergence as often. So if we don't see the hatchlings emerge from the nest, I can't calculate an incubation duration. So what I've started doing this season is I'm using temperature data loggers to measure the nest temperature, and I'm using sand temperature data logger. And so what I'm looking for is whether we can use the loss of metabolic heat, that drop in temperature when the hatchlings emerge, to pinpoint an emergence date. And if so, then I can hopefully accurately calculate incubation duration, even for nests where there's no observed hatching.
In just a few days, the typical nesting season for sea turtles will end, yet Merope will continue to gather data on the turtle nests during the winter months.
In the past few years, the Indian River Lagoon has dealt with algae blooms that negatively impact the thousands of species that live there. Staff from Restore Our Shores and Brevard Zoo are looking towards one marine animal to help clean the most diverse estuary in the country. The Indian River Lagoon takes up over 150 miles of Florida's shoreline, extending from Ponce de Leon Inlet to Jupiter Inlet in West Palm Beach, and is home to more than 4,000 species of plants and animals. In the past 15 years, Florida's Fish and Wildlife Commission noted major algae blooms that kill seagrass and harm wildlife within the lagoon. Ever since, organizations like Restore Our Shores have worked little by little to push the lagoon's health in a better direction. Today, they're placing oyster reefs, a process that provides habitats for the lagoon's creatures and helps with water filtration.
We want to see boosts in oyster population. We want to see boosts in seagrass coverage, things like that. The lagoon is not going to fix itself, and these issues didn't happen overnight, and so they won't reverse overnight either.
In the past year, Restore Our Shores has laid a little under 14,000 square feet of oyster reef in the Indian River Lagoon, and a single one of these guys can filter up to 50 gallons of water. UCF alumna Amber Santoso graduated in 2020, and through her work at UCF, she is now on staff with the Brevard Zoo and regularly works with Restore Our Shores.
It's really awesome to be able to have this opportunity. I get to go home and say, look at this cool work that I get to be a part of. So it's incredible.
Staff at Restore Our Shores say while oysters are a great help, there is still much work to be done to support the long-term recovery of the lagoon.
25 and a half for shoreward.
Oyster season ends in October and won't pick back up till next May. There are still many other projects Restore Our Shores will be working on to help support the lagoon.
Plastic waste on Florida beaches is threatening marine life in the state. According to Keep Brevard Beautiful, roughly 300 tons of plastic has been found in Cocoa Beach this past year alone. Reporter Ray Collado tells us how some citizens are working to make a difference.
6 days a week, all year round, the beach program coordinator for the nonprofit Keep Brevard Beautiful, Jeff Richardson, spends his days making sure Cocoa Beach is as litter-free as possible. He has picked up over 120 pounds of trash in the past 3 months alone. Despite this, Richardson says it's a never-ending battle with each piece of plastic he collects, as they are always replaced by 2 other pieces. He believes Florida's beaches are in danger, and it's up to all Florida residents to do their part and be proactive in keeping Florida's beaches beautiful.
We need to take accountability for our trash output. And we can't have it go out into this ocean, and we don't want it out on the streets either. We need to be proactive at making sure that our trash leaves the least amount of impact on the environment as possible.
When it comes to cleaning Florida's beaches, the work is far from done.
However, the work Richardson has done has helped inspire many from this generation of Knights. Senior environmental studies major and president of UCF Surf Club, Zane Webb, is one such Knight. Webb believes that the problem is a lack of awareness, citing several instances of people leaving trash on the beaches he cherishes. He says that people like Richardson keep him motivated, but it can't just be keep Brevard beautiful doing other work. Webb says it takes all of us Floridians.
It's kind of where I grew up. Like, I've been living there all my life. It's not just on them, it's on everyone to kind of do your part. Maybe try to get some trash every time you go to the beach and do something small, you know.
If nothing is done to help manage our waste, by 2050, oceans will carry more plastic than they do fish. In Brevard County, Raymond Collado, The Aquatic Archive.
If you'd like to take part in keeping Florida's beaches clean, KBB urges you to volunteer. You can visit their website at www.keepbrevardbeautiful.com. Coming up, we will see how sharks are playing tag with storms. Researchers are on a quest to detect weather through shark tagging technology. Plus, we'll learn more about a silent threat that is harming our waterways. Also, more on environmentalists are working to stop the growth while we're gone. Here are just a few ways that you can do your part.
Miami Beach City will be below sea level, with just a mild hurricane having the ability to flood the city in its entirety. Efforts to combat sea level rise are costing Florida more than $4 billion. This may sound like a lot to spend, yet the eastern seaboard of the United States has been rising 3 to 4 times faster than the global average, forcing Florida to fork out the cash. Although that may seem dire, according to cleanocean.org, there are several things you can do today to help stop this crisis before it has a chance to begin. Firstly, you can reduce your carbon footprint, as greenhouse gases are a major contributor to sea level rise. Secondly, our wetlands must be protected. They act as natural buffers for coastal areas during rainstorms and hurricanes by absorbing precipitation in storm surge waters. The third one is easy. Plants and trees clean the air and soak up the rain. So, try and reduce your paper usage and have more plants and trees in your yard. It can be simple things like setting your computers and printers to double-sided printing, essentially cutting in half the amount of paper you use. This fourth tip not only helps save Florida, but it can also help save your wallet. Try reducing your energy use by doing things like turning off your lights and appliances after you use them. It's little things like unplugging your phone charger when you're not using it, because even if it's not in use, our outlets still consume power regardless. Next, maybe try skipping out on driving your car down the road and instead take a bike, as vehicles are a leading source of carbon dioxide production. To help reduce the number of cars on the roads, consider carpooling with your friends, or use alternative methods of transportation, like that skateboard sitting in your garage. Not only will you reduce greenhouse gases, but you'll also get some cardio in while saving money on the side. Lastly, you should push for a climate change action plan. Many cities and states do not have plans in place to address climate change, which is a primary cause of sea level rise. So, contact your state and local government to demand action against climate change and help prevent sea level rise while we still can.
Researchers discover sharks' heightened senses at sea offer untapped potential to improve hurricane forecast models. Reporter Heather Basley takes us to Jupiter, Florida to tell us more about how sharks just might become your next meteorologist.
Michael Heithaus, a shark researcher and executive dean of the College of Arts, Sciences, and Education at Florida International University, feels that using the world's most feared predators as oceanographers has limitless potential.
And they can detect really minute differences in pressure, in temperature, and that means that they can basically detect a storm that's coming. And if you live in shallow coastal waters that might have huge storm surge, or actually all the water sucked out of an area, you better be able to respond, or it's going to end badly for you.
Due to advancements in shark satellite tagging technology, researchers can detect behavioral patterns during storms and hurricanes. Some sharks act like unflinching storm chasers, while others dive to safer, deeper waters. Their movements before, during, and after storms have tons to tell us about how hurricanes can turn and intensify.
Via real-time satellites, this underwater species makes it known that they have the strong capability to capture oceanographic data that can inform hurricane models in a cheaper and faster manner.
Jill Collier is a marine biology student at UCF studying sharks. Collier said that she is not surprised these animals are capable of predicting storms and hurricanes.
Because they're just so familiar with this planet. They're so in tune with those waters. That's their home. You know, and I feel like that's really interesting, and that can be really, really important for us in predicting these storms, tracking these storms, being able to see how they're going to intensify and things like that.
While most efforts to date have only included a dozen or so tagged sharks, scientists say the concept could be scaled up to a fleet of thousands. These roving shark forecasters can fill data gaps in places that expensive planes and drones cannot. In Jupiter, Heather Basley, The Aquatic Archive.
With over 500 shark species, these fish hold unique features and capabilities that set them apart from others. You can learn more about sharks, shark tagging, and other resources by visiting noaafisheries.gov.
The Florida Everglades is one of the largest wetlands in the world. It serves as a home to over 700 species of animals. However, studies suggest the harmony of this fragile ecosystem may be in jeopardy. Reporter Rachel Clark takes us further south to the Everglades National Park.
You know, the blue water and the palm trees. Well, we got the palm trees, but I didn't realize the water was all too often blue-green.
While sounds of flowing water, native birds, and gators fill the Everglades, a silent killer is hiding in plain sight. Cyanobacteria, more commonly known as toxic blue-green algae, has become an increasing issue, according to Gil Smart, the policy director for Friends of the Everglades.
This year, there was a massive bloom in the lake. We're getting to the point where Lake Okeechobee has a huge toxic algae bloom almost every single year.
He says the state got lucky this year. Water levels in Lake Okeechobee didn't rise high enough to need to be discharged, but that there's always next year.
Increased levels of phosphorus and carbon pose a threat to not only Florida's Everglades, but all of Florida's waterways.
Probably 3 or 4 years in a row we had bad bacteria blooms. Number one, it would close our beaches, so people wouldn't come out to the beaches. So financially, it was a struggle for us. People didn't want to go into the river. They didn't want to go paddleboarding, didn't want to go surfing, weren't allowed to at a lot of the spots.
Lake Okeechobee, Florida's largest lake, is surrounded by agricultural land. Water begins as far north as Georgia, runs into Orlando's wetlands, then continues south, eventually filtering into Lake Okeechobee. That same water ends up in the Everglades, the ocean, and even the water Floridians drink daily. While this toxic algae has a direct impact on seagrass, manatees, and other marine life, it also poses a deeper threat.
There are health impacts from cyanobacteria to humans and animals. We've had a couple dogs die.
UCF nursing student Brooke McGrath grew up with the Everglades in her backyard. She says that it's important to protect these areas and stay safe in the process.
Everyone hears about these different things of lung cancer from smoking and things like that, but like smoking isn't the only bad thing for you, because there's all of these different things in the environment that are going to hurt you just as much as things that you know would hurt you.
Gil says that restoration groups are still trying to play catch up. In the Everglades, Rachel Clark, The Aquatic Archive.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars have already been put into projects across the state, but there is still more that needs to be spent. That includes right here in the Central Florida area.
The Everglades and Lake Okeechobee may be obvious targets for the formation of blue-green algae. However, more often than not, the entire state feels the impact. Right here at Lake Baldwin in Orlando, Florida, the nutrient-dense soil causes this to grow right in our backyards. Researchers here at UCF are doing their part to help detect it.
600 named lakes in its jurisdiction and a protection agency to help preserve the health of the waters. Marsha Anderson-Clark is a senior environmentalist with the Orange County Environmental Protection Division. She says blue-green algae blooms can affect the entire ecosystem in a lake.
Because algae blooms create turbidity, which is that cloudy color in the water, that could prevent the sunlight from reaching the bottom of the lake where other vegetation is growing.
Additionally, the CDC says human exposure to blue-green algae blooms can cause stomach pain, vomiting, and more.
In many Orange County communities, lakes like Lake Baldwin face threats from blue-green algae blooms, but a new piece of technology could help at detecting those blooms a lot faster.
A research team at UCF is helping with the initiative to keep our waters clean. Dr. Woo Hai-Young Lee and his team of students are developing a biosensor capable of detecting toxic blooms like blue-green algae in its early stages.
Our goal is to simply measure and then rapidly measure these algae toxins so we can give early warning.
The team will present phase 1 of their experiment to the Federal Environmental Protection Agency at an expo in D.C. in June of 2024.
The Orange County EPD recommends residents stay up to date using the Florida Department of Environmental Protection's blue-green algae dashboard.
Coming up, we'll head out to Crystal River to learn how a few organizations are restoring the river after Hurricane Idalia. Next, we check in with our partners at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University to learn how hurricanes like Idalia impact sea level rise. After that, we see how Scuba UCF is making its comeback and working to clean up our waterways. The Aquatic Archive will be right back. In a quiet town located on Florida's Nature Coast, a team of conservationists is working to restore one of Florida's gems. To learn more about this restoration work and what challenges they are having to overcome, reporter Avery Joens takes us out west to the city of Crystal River.
My name is Lisa Moore, and I'm president of Save Crystal River. Save Crystal River is an all-volunteer 501c3 nonprofit corporation that was formed by residents in the community to address the deteriorating water that we had in Crystal River. The water had become covered in Lyngbia, an invasive blue-green algae. There was no oxygen in the water, and our plants and animals were all gone. And so we started trying to address this. How can we fix this? We formed in 2012, and in 2015 we started the Kings Bay Restoration Project.
My name's Howard Miller. I'm on the Sea and Shoreline team. Sea and Shoreline is the team that was hired by Save Crystal River to clean the river, restore it, replant it, manage it, and maintain it.
The improvement to Crystal River has been phenomenal as a result of this project. We have now restored over 92 acres where we actively took out millions of pounds of this rotting vegetation and Lyngbia, and we've replanted it with the native eelgrass, and that eelgrass has spread from the 92 acres that we put in to over 300 acres in Kings Bay. So now we have good, clean, beautiful water, and over 850 spring vents have been opened. Hurricane Idalia hit Crystal River on August the 30th of this year, and it pretty much inundated the entire city. Water was all the way up over people's docks, over their houses in many cases.
When the hurricane did come through, we were taking data even during the hurricane, taking salinity levels, and everybody keeping an eye on the project of exactly what was happening.
The eelgrass is extremely resilient. This is not the growing season, so we really can't tell how much of the grass is going to come back, but we do see it already coming back. This eelgrass has been here for decades and decades and probably centuries, so it's coming back. There's just no doubt in my mind. This is a resilient town, and we came back. It's been a month. Businesses are back open. People's houses have been restored. There's still work going on, but it's all coming back. And just like any place else in Florida, we don't give up easy. Our project is not over. We're just starting. We're also looking at our islands in the middle of Kings Bay because we need that for storm protection in the community. That's right in the middle of the bay. Some of those islands are almost gone from when I was a kid. That's our next big initiative. We want to restore all of those islands, and and keep our habitat, keep it healthy, keep it the way it used to be, bring it back, and protect our community from future storms.
Save Crystal River in the Sea and Shoreline teams will continue to work together on restoration efforts. They say they will work every part of the Crystal River in its springs till it's flourishing with healthy eelgrass. Research shows that sea level rise has had a dramatic impact on storm surges. Our partners at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University have the facts. Meteorology major Dominic Carrico shows us how climate change is having an impact on disastrous storm surges, just like the one during Idalia.
Well, we all experienced Hurricane Idalia's impacts late August when the storm made landfall along Florida's Gulf Coast. So what is storm surge? Well, it's essentially the water piling up on shore as that tropical entity or that hurricane moves closer. It eventually piles that water on shore. And when you combine that with things like human-induced climate change, where sea levels have been rising over the past few decades, you get even more disastrous effects. And when we look at the numbers here from NOAA, these values coming in, approximately a 9.1 inch rise in sea level since 1940 when this gauge was first there in Cedar Key. We'll take a look at that in one moment. And nearly a 5-inch increase in the past few years alone. So an exponential rise in sea level. So here's what I was just mentioning. During Idalia, that peak major storms flood stage, came in at 6.84 feet, and that surpassed the previous record of 6.1 back in 2016. So bottom line here is human-induced climate change is definitely making for more disastrous storm surge effects.
Scuba UCF has been working towards water conservation all semester through their beach cleanups and dive for debris events. Reporter Zadiah Keita tells us more about the deep diving environmentalists.
Members of the Scuba UCF Club are no strangers to restoration work. These environmentalists are back on their feet after the pandemic caused their work to halt. They went out to Daytona Beach for a cleanup earlier this month and found all types of debris on the beach. According to the NOAA, the most common form of ocean litter is cigarette butts. Jaylene Perez, the risk and travel manager of Scuba UCF, says the amount of trash in the area was shocking.
In just a small space, I was mentioning to you that there's been handfuls of cigarette butts, many beer cans, and a few other objects that are just broken down plastic. It's interesting to kind of see the evidence of human impact on our beaches.
Scuba UCF also holds unique events such as Dive for Debris, which started back up this semester. During these events, the divers head into the water with their gear and set out to collect trash as a means of restoration. This Saturday, they traveled to Blue Springs State Park for their dive. The park was much cleaner than Daytona Beach, but the members still swam around to look for any trash. Scuba UCF member Ellie Dolan says club members truly enjoy and care about the dives they participate in.
It's really just been a community of people that are here to enjoy what they're doing, to study what they're doing, to help make an impact and really just observe more than anything.
With their regularly scheduled pre-dive meetings, you can expect more beach cleanups and dive for debris events from the club throughout this semester. In Central Florida, Zadiah Keita, The Aquatic Archive.
The club holds local volunteering opportunities for students such as tailgate cleanups on the main campus.
That's all our time for right now. Thanks for joining us on this special edition of UCF Nightly News.
If you've got a story idea you want us to know about, send it our way. You can reach us at nightlynewsucf@gmail.com. Thanks for watching and have a great day.